I'll put you on the spot with this question. Maybe you could decline to answer, but like, what would you say to a young girl who's in high school or, right out of high school, finds herself pregnant? I mean, what encouragement would you share with her?
If you have anyone in your life that is encouraging, because you're probably already scared as it is going through that process, use that person to kind of help you. Look at yourself every day and encourage yourself and let you know that doesn't mean that life is over.
Right.
It's not over. It's really just beginning. And you still have so much more that you can do to make it in this world.
This is the Turn Your Life Around podcast, and I'm the 180 lady. I've been helping people turn their lives around since 2007 as the founder and CEO of a large mental health company. The purpose of this podcast is to have meaningful conversations with old friends and new friends, everyday people just like you and me, about how they turn their lives around. We'll discuss all things mental health, fitness, finances, relationships, parenting, spirituality, you name it. My hope is that you can take something away that will encourage you today. I'm your host, Sarah Coates. Are you ready to turn your life around? Hello, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for jumping on and listening. We have an exciting guest today, my friend and pal, Renee Best. Renee is the founder and owner of A New You Counseling Services and A New You Coaching and Consulting.
Yes.
And she wears some other hats too. I'll let her tell you all about them. But welcome to the pod, Renee.
Thank you, Miss Sarah. It's good to see you. I'm glad to be here. Hello, everyone. Like Sarah said, I do wear many hats. I'm a therapist. I'm a mom. I'm a grandmom. I am a lover of Christ. And that's kind of what got me into wearing many hats, so to say. So I started my group practice about 4 years ago. And we have about now 26 therapists that work with the practice, which has been great. Well, not always great, but most of the time great.
Mostly great.
Mostly great. And I also do coaching and consulting on the side for other therapists who are trying to open their own practice. I'm also a supervisor for the Clinical Mental Health Board, so I supervise others trying to get fully licensed. I'm also an EMDR consultant in training, so I help people get certified in EMDR. And yeah, I help people get credentialed with insurance. So those are my many hats I think Sarah was talking about. So
I told you.
I'm happy to be here.
There's a lot of them.
So I'm happy to be here.
And when do you have time to breathe and sleep?
I get about good 6 hours of sleep in the morning. Then I get up and go to the gym for an hour so that I can be sane for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, and about 3 cups of coffee too.
That's good too.
Yeah.
That's good. That's important.
Yes.
The caffeine.
Absolutely.
So Renee, tell the audience, where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about your entering into the world story. Like, where'd you get started in this life?
I was actually born in New York. We moved to Connecticut shortly after. So I lived there for some years before we moved to North Carolina when I was a freshman in high school. So I graduated from my local high school here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And being a therapist was never on my roadmap. I thought when I was younger I was going to be a veterinarian.
Aww.
I loved animals, so that was my goal. And I was going to be a basketball player because I played basketball, and I was pretty good, y'all. I was really good. But life had other plans for me. I actually had my first child in high school. I got pregnant my senior year in high school. So when I graduated high school, I had a 3-week-old in my arms.
Wow.
So I walked across the stage, and as soon as I walked across the stage, my mom handed me my 3-week-old child. So life did not go the way I thought it was going to go. So I had to be a mom. I did start school at Wake Tech that fall, but tried to work and raise him, and my parents were very adamant that I was not going to get any help from social services or anything. I was going to do this on my own.
Wow.
Because this is my life that was created, and I was going to be responsible for that. So I thought they were kind of mean back then, but I think it molded me into working hard and, not that I haven't received help along the way. Definitely, I've had great support and help along the way, but being able to really just focus on raising him and working, I didn't really have a chance for a career. So this is exciting for me to go back to school, get a bachelor's and then a master's and now be here. Sometimes I just thank God, and I'm just like, God, thank you. Because the way I started is not how I hope to finish.
Right, right. Well, and so also just thinking about, there are a lot of high school young moms who aren't able to continue in life at the rate you have. I wonder what the difference was between you and maybe, the other young girls out there.
Support that I received. I had a lot of support when I had my son. My sister was huge in helping me. My parents were huge. My godmother, my godsister. So I had a really good support system. And even my son's side of the family, his grandmother, all of them, they were very supportive. So I had that. They were not like built-in babysitters or anything. But if I had to go to work, they would keep him for me. So that was probably the biggest, because I remember when I was in high school, there was our school counselor, and there was probably about a good 6 or 7 of us that were pregnant at the same time. So we would have like little round tables to kind of talk about how scared we were. I was 17. And as life went on, you carry some of that embarrassment and shame with you as you're going through life, right? People judging you, people looking at you, because at 17, I'm young, here I am carrying this child, and people are like, is that your brother or is that your child? So, and people can be cruel. Some of my classmates were cruel. Some of them were very nice and good to me and supportive. So really just feeding off of that support that I did receive kind of helped me not to, fail, I guess, in a sense. But it was scary.
Well, I'm sure. 17. New baby. Wow.
Yeah. Started school and from there. And then, I tried to have a relationship with my son's father. That just didn't work out. And then I wound up meeting my daughter's father 2 years later. So I had a child again, not married, 2 kids, 2 different fathers, 20 years old. Yeah. I was a statistic waiting to happen. Well, I guess it was already happening in many people's eyes. So, just trying to live to figure out, how did I get here, right? My choice, of course, but I was young. Didn't make the best choices. And I appreciate my parents for not beating me down over it. You know what I mean? Trying to make me feel worse than I already was feeling in that situation. So that was helpful. And I just went to work. My very first legit full job was working at IBM.
Oh, wow.
And I worked there, and I was able to climb the ladder, and they brought me on full time. And because I did good in school. I had good grades. I was pretty smart. I did, well. So being in corporate America, I was able to learn quickly and grow and get new jobs. So it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. But that 17 to 21, 20 age was rough. It was really rough.
You told me once, so just side note, Renee and I hang out some. We'll go to breakfast, we go get coffee, maybe drink a little wine sometimes. But anyhow, I digress. But one time you told me about being homeless.
Yeah, I was. At one point in time, I found myself not having a place to stay. I had to wind up staying in a hotel for one night. I stayed with a friend another night. And then I wind up packing up my, at the time, 3-year-old son. And my daughter had to be, I don't know, a few weeks old. So I packed them up and got a bus ticket and went to New York to stay with my grandmother. But I really had no place to stay. Social services helped me pay for a room to stay here and there. But that's how I found myself. And it's so strange because sometimes I'm like, man, I was homeless. I really was. And I think experiencing that lets me know, one, I don't ever want to go back there. But it also allows me to not judge other people and really look at people for who they are and not their circumstances. So sometimes when I'm having these moments and I'm thinking about, man, Lord, you really showed me a lot. And, I know he doesn't give us more than we can handle, but sometimes I'm like, really? We could have did this a different path or whatever. But I've learned to embrace it and shed some of that embarrassment and shame, because I carried a lot of shame. I carried a lot of embarrassment. I carried a lot of that for many, many years.
Yeah.
So when I moved back to North Carolina, I moved in with my parents, and then I wound up getting my own apartment, and that's how I met my husband. And this August we'll celebrate 27 years of marriage. So meeting him was like everything, because he looked at my 2 kids and was like, I'll take them.
Oh,
Just like that, with no issues. So that was what I prayed for, though. That is literally what I prayed for. I didn't even pray for me. It was more like, please send me somebody that's going to be good to my kids.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, we have 2 more kids together. And then he has a daughter. So we are an amazing blended family. And it works. It works. Not that it's easy.
Right.
Or has always been easy. But to see them, like yesterday, all 4 of them were here, because my baby boy, he lives in Arizona. But the 4, it's just nice to see them together and just getting along and all of that. So, yeah.
I have so many thoughts. I'm thinking like...
Give it to me.
I'm thinking like the statement, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
It's so true.
It is very true.
And I heard your village. I heard you mention them.
Yeah. I had a good village.
Thank goodness for them.
Amen. Yes, they did.
I'm also thinking about like your perseverance, your grit, your work ethic. I mean, you didn't just... it doesn't sound like you're just like, oh, well, forget it. I just can't do it. I've got these 2 babies. I'm just going to sit here.
Yeah.
I mean, you still went after it.
Yes. That was my motivation.
Yeah.
That was literally my motivation, is to not fail or not let that shame stop me from doing what it is. And therapy was like, again, was never on my map at all. Never even thought about it. And it's interesting because I went to my 30-year class reunion. Yes, I've been out of high school for 30 years.
Yes.
And this has been a few years ago.
Yeah.
I went to my 30-year class reunion. I was talking to a classmate of mine, and he was like, I see you're a therapist now, Renee. I'm like, I am. He's like, I knew it all along. I said, you did? He was like, yeah. He said, you always were able to just talk and make everything better. I was like, that's interesting. And so, but going back to school for me was a personal goal. When my youngest started kindergarten, that's when I went back to get my undergrad. And I just wanted to finish my undergrad.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish it for me, because I knew that's what I should have been doing before I had my son. So I went back and I graduated May 17th, 2014 with my undergrad. May 2nd, 2014, my father passed away. So 2 weeks before I graduated from college, he passed. So he never got to see me. He knew I was going to graduate,
right,
but he didn't get to see me. And Sarah, I remember sitting in the middle of my bed. It's like May 11th, May 10th. And I was finishing my last paper for school. And I remember just a voice of feeling or something coming over me saying, you need to be a therapist. And I'm just like, what? I just went back to school to finish this degree. I have no plans to go back to get my degree, a second degree at that.
Right.
I just wanted this one accomplishment. And that voice, like literally I could hear it crisp and clear. This is what I was supposed to do.
Wow.
And that's exactly what I did. Typed up, found Liberty University, because of course I wanted to incorporate my faith and spirituality with the work I was doing, and started school that August.
Wow. Oh, you finished in May and you went right back in August.
To school in August. By December, that grief hit me like a ton of bricks. Ton of bricks. I got my first C in class.
Yeah.
That's when I knew. I was like, oh, I need to take some time off. So I took a year off.
Yeah.
From school. I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to go through that grief process after losing my dad. So
I think, this is I don't know if it's textbook. I don't know if it's in the DSM. I don't know if this is just experience, but it does seem like that 6-month marker after a loss, whatever it is like when the grief really gets in there.
Yeah. So, it's the holidays come, it was a lot. And that, you're like, you're going to feel something, but I was not prepared for what that felt like.
But you took a year off. And yet it still didn't derail you. Like still that perseverance, that core character you have, it sounds like it just picked right back up.
Yeah, I went right on back and finished up a couple years later, worked I worked the entire time I was getting my master's.
Did you?
Oh, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah. Right.
I tell my husband, like, oh, I should have married for money. But that didn't happen. But no, I worked full time while I went back to school and had a great boss who was, very supportive. So that was really, again, I've had great supporting people throughout my entire life. My husband was supportive while I was going to school because he had to really take on the responsibility of the 2 kids that were still at home, like basketball and track and everything else. So it was just nice. My friends were supportive. They always encouraged me, shouted me out. So it was nice just having that village again to kind of help you through. And then I graduated in 2018. And I'm telling you, I tried every way to figure out how I was going to stay at my corporate America job that was paying me very well and do this therapy thing part-time. The Lord was like, no, ma'am.
You didn't figure that part out.
Nope. He was like, nope, you're not doing that. And he made it very uncomfortable for me to stay.
Really?
So, yeah.
So he moved you on out.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep. I had it in my mind. I was going to work it out. He's like, I told you this is what you're going to do. And this is what you're going to do. And I'm going to tell you from 2018, 2019 were the best 2 years. I've had my real estate license since 2005. 2018, when I graduate, 2019, when I was making that low poverty-stricken salary when you're coming out and you're in community mental health.
Yeah.
For 2 years, that was the most money I have ever made in real estate. And my 19 years, and do you know I haven't made a dime since then?
Wow.
But those 2 years sustained me to continue to do what it is I do until I built the practice.
I'd say that's called provision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it so? I'm obviously, you know this about me, but the audience may not know this, but I'm a Christian as well. And so my faith dictates that I believe, that God's going to be faithful. Right. And so it sounds like he was talking to you on that bed or something, was telling you, go be a therapist. Right. And then you're afraid to make the leap to leave your corporate job that was paying really well. Yes. And he was already going to fill in the gap. Absolutely. And you didn't even know it was going to happen.
Didn't even know it was going to happen.
That's so awesome.
I had no idea because I've never in my life done that in the 13 years before?
Right.
Or the 5 years after. Like I said, I haven't made a dime since then.
You're like, real estate?
Right. Yeah. I'm like, what is that? Yeah. So I keep my license, but that's just the reality. So I tell people, like, if you feel something or you're passionate or something's nudged you to do something, do it. Yeah. Like, even if it doesn't turn out the way you think, but you have to at least try and do it. Right. And I always am glad that I listened, even on those days where I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it, because there's still a level of fear of failure that happens still today as I'm running the business. Am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right choices? Am I connecting to the right people? And it's important to have a village in this field as well, because we need that support.
Yeah. Yeah. I think no matter how long you've been in business, I've been in business for almost 20 years. And I still have those same thoughts on the daily. Right. Am I doing it right? Is this the right decision? What if I fail? Yes. I mean, I think that all the time still.
It's like, when does that go?
Does that go away? Let's talk to somebody who's owned a company for like 50 or 60 years. Right. Do they feel that still? I don't know.
Wonder. But you're at 20. I'm only at 4. So I'm just like, and you're telling me, okay, I got to feel this for 16 more years? Yes. Like, Lord, please.
And then somebody ahead of me will tell me, you have to fill it for 30 more years or however long you need.
See, that's the part I don't know. Yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm the same. And that's why, again, we connect and we chat with each other. I told you about my 2, Tiffany and Eric, who keep me on my money. Yeah. I call them my money-minded friends that keep me on that. And so it's just having that support where you're just like, okay, there's things I need to do, even on those days that you don't want to. Because some days I just want to lay in the bed and not do anything. Yeah. And then you look at the email and you got 50 of them, and you're like, oh, all right, Lord. But I don't want to feel that. Like, I'm like, okay, Lord, let me be thankful. Right. Let me keep pushing through, because it's going to be okay. So I think for me, that's the most important part, is still pushing through even on those days that I don't want to. When I'm tired.
Yeah, when you're tired, because we all have those days.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
So when did you start the group practice?
2020. And it was weird. I started it, COVID hit. Yeah. Soon as we opened the doors, because prior I had a partnership. I had a partner. So we opened the doors February 1st. We all had to go home in March.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, it took me, I know it sounds weird, it took me about 30 days, almost maybe 2 months to put my profile on Psychology Today. I literally was scared to put it out there. I was scared to have a picture of me and a profile out there.
Saying you're a therapist or just out there?
Just out there. Just for people to have to read my profile, what I'm about. Like that's, I'm like, why am I so scared to do this? Like, if you look at my website, no one knows I'm the owner of the company because there's nothing on that page that says I'm the owner of the company. Even though my marketing person's like, you really need to have a page out there. You really need, I'm just like, I don't want to. There's that I don't know what, I can't even describe. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's not a good answer, right? I tell my clients, I don't know, it's not an answer. So I'm sure I know what it is, but as I was saying, it was hard for me. So when we started, I actually got referrals from other people, like a parent of someone or a sibling of someone or something like that. So like in my first week, I had 5 clients. By the end of February, I had like 30. By March, I was full. Yeah. To a point where I asked one of my friends that was working with me, can you come over and take these referrals that I'm getting, this overflow? I had no idea what a group practice, I didn't know what that meant. Right. I just was like, hey, I need some help.
Yeah, I need some support.
Some support. So she came over and took my overflow. That was March, April. By July, we had hired 7 therapists. Yeah, so we were at about 9, 10 of us by then. Wow. And it just has continued to grow. 2021, that's when I met you. Yeah. Is when the partnership dissolved and I went out on my own. Right. And it's just been me ever since. So like I said, we're up to about 26, 24, 25, something like that. Somewhere along those lines. So.
And your location's in Raleigh?
Raleigh and Waxhaw, which is right outside of Charlotte. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Waxhaw was just where is Waxhaw? That's what I said when I first, the therapist who's out there. And she was like, oh, it's going to be great. But it has been great. Yeah. There's 3 out there now. We just added a 4th person. So it's been good. Yeah. You know, Sarah helps me. You have to know this about Sarah. She's funny. She'll just be like, just try it, Renee. Just try it. If it doesn't work out, it'll be okay. And so I tease when I'm doing something. Like, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to try it and see how it works out. But sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't.
You know, I don't know why. I just think in life, we can't really fail. Right. Like we falter, we misstep, we'll make mistakes. Like all of those are true. Right. But I don't think any of those mean failure. Right. I think you make a mistake. Okay, well, then just try again differently. Yeah. Don't try again the same way because you'll make the same mistake. But try again differently. Right. And just keep going. Yeah. You know, like, well, big deal. You know, that's just kind of like, oh, big deal. So I made a mistake. Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
know?
And you make several sometimes.
You do as a business owner. Yeah. You're all, you know, I don't want to say we're always making mistakes, but again, we do. We make mistakes. We're not perfect.
Yeah. I was telling my husband the other day, I said, oh my goodness, I just got my first bad Google review. And I was so traumatized. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm just like, I can't even say anything, but I'm so it just bothered me so much, but I'm just like, well, that's just what it is. Yeah. Right? What else are you going to do?
What are you going to do? You know, when I got my first bad Google review many years ago, and now, you know, the fact of the matter is we've had several over the years. Right. Because several things. A, you can't please everyone. Absolutely. Someone's always going to be dissatisfied, even with your best. Right. Because they might have a different expectation. Right. That's just what it is in life. Then also, have you ever like gone to look at what the other reviews that person is doing?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I do that sometimes. I'll be like, this is a bunch of cockamamie baloney, right? So I'll click on their name and then you can see their other Google reviews. And those people be blasting everybody. I'm like, see, they're just a negative person. Nothing's making them satisfied. Right. And so then I just throw that out with the bathwater. I'm like, that doesn't even count. It's not even legit, you know? But yeah, you just, in business, you cannot please everyone. Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day.
That's true.
You know, I was at this conference and I went to go get a soda during like a little break and they had Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi right beside each other. And I'm a Diet Coke girl. Right. I'm always going to go for the Diet Coke. And I sat there and I thought, you know, that's interesting. Like, because the next person's going to go for Diet Pepsi. But Diet Coke doesn't stop producing because some people want Diet Pepsi. True. Right? Diet Coke stays in their lane. They keep doing their thing because there's people like me that want Diet Coke.
Right.
And then Diet Pepsi's going to keep producing because there's that part of the market that wants Diet Pepsi.
That's true.
And I think that's just such a great business application.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think about the Google reviews. Like there's always going to be somebody who's dissatisfied with
Right.
something
Right.
that you're doing or I'm doing
That's
or
true.
whatever business is doing. Okay, so
Yeah.
go choose Diet Pepsi next time, whatever. You know?
That's so true. That's so true. But it was weird. I don't know that I was even upset about it. So I was just like, oh, this is interesting, but okay.
Yeah,
I don't know that's going to affect anything, but okay.
it's not.
But because you always want to do a good job. Like you always want to
Yes.
be, good to the clients because, they can go anywhere. Like you said, they have choices.
That's right.
So many choices. So I'm appreciative when they choose to come to a New You counseling services. It's always nice, but it's I guess the cost of doing business as well.
It is.
Yeah. And I tell you, when you talked about you being a Christian, that was probably, I don't know about you, when I was doing my profiles, how to put that. Like, do I say that?
Right.
Am I gonna, push other people away? But I found that I went ahead and added it anyway. Like on my website, I have Romans 8:28 is the verse that starts underneath my profile. As well as incorporating faith and spirituality on my Psychology Today profile. And it hasn't deterred anything. And I'm just like, I feel I have to give him all the credit for where I am. So how can I not say how I plan to do this in my own practice and be scared to not be just tell people who I am. Yeah. And I tell people who I am.
Yeah.
Like I go to the gym every morning, not because I like to, it's because I like cake and cookies and pie. I ate cookies this morning for breakfast with my coffee. I didn't put cream in my coffee, but I had some chocolate chip toffee cookies for breakfast. That's why I go to the gym.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I think that's a valid point. Like in business, especially, is just say who you are.
Right.
Because the people that are attracted to that, who, want more of that, they come to you.
Right.
And the people who don't, that's okay. They're going to go a different direction.
That's right.
They might leave a bad gig review. Oh, well. But they will go and find what they need.
That's
And
right.
so I think in business, we should not deny who we are, what we're doing, what our business is about.
Right.
Just be that, and be bold in it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I completely agree.
So, so you branched out, and now you've got the coaching and consulting.
I did. Yes, and it's 4 things under one umbrella. I do help therapists get credentialed with insurance. I've learned a lot building this group practice, and I have learned how to credential people in a very seamless way. I've obviously been creating like credentialing cheat sheets and things of that nature. I also help clinicians start their practices or expand to a group practice. So I've taken my years of being in corporate America and software implementation. So I used to write requirements for software applications.
Okay.
I was a business analyst, and I also was project management, where I brought teams together to like build things on applications, like online stores and things of that nature. So I used those skills from that time to build out project plans. Like, here's all the tasks associated with creating, down to NPI, CAQH, liabilities, like insurance, like everything, access to insurance, portals, ERAs, EFT, like everything is all like laid out. And so that's what I've been creating behind the scenes to help. And I also, I do a supervision for the board, clinical mental health counselor board. I have 3 supervisees now. And I do EMDR consulting.
Yeah.
So that's been, so I started that about a year ago.
Yeah.
And it just grew from one person, which actually was an old coworker of mine from 20 years ago, who I was a social worker, and I started helping her, and people just started coming after that. So that's been keeping me busy.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it.
You know what word I keep hearing is support. So like you had support in your early days.
Right.
And now here you are supporting others in their next seasons.
Yeah.
It's just like this thread.
Yeah.
That's just who you are continuing.
It is. Pay it forward is what
That's
I say.
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
Now, I do charge for my time.
Of course. You should, as you should. As you should. What do you think are some of like the biggest lessons you learned in starting a business, running a business?
Collaborate with other business owners has been huge. I spent a lot of time. That's how I found you,
Yeah.
is being in like Facebook groups with your other peers. Treating people with respect, anyone that you kind of come into contact with, because you never know when you're going to see them again
Right.
down the line. Watch out for predatory lenders when you're doing financing or whatever the case may be. Like, because not everybody has a whole bunch of money to start.
Oh, yeah.
So don't get yourself into too much business debt. I've learned that the hard way. And just be good to yourself and kind to yourself in that journey. And whatever your religious or thing that you do to keep yourself grounded, me is prayer, me is working out, me is spending time with friends and family, me is connecting with people like you that, we can vent about our stressors, but also be a support for each other. So that's some of the biggest things I have learned. Definitely stay in your grind and connected to your faith or whatever it is that keeps you motivated, and have a good, solid people around you.
Yeah. A good support network.
Yes, definitely.
I'll put you on the spot with this question. Maybe you can decline to answer, but like, what would you say to a young girl who's in high school or, right out of high school, finds herself pregnant? I mean, what encouragement would you share with her?
If you have anyone, excuse me, in your life that is encouraging, because you're probably already scared as it is going through that process, use that person to kind of help you. And there's many resources out here now that maybe wasn't available 30 years ago. But I did, like, that group of other teen pregnancies helped, having a supportive family, my sister, my mom, and my dad. So if you have that, to use it, but also look at yourself every day and encourage yourself and let you know that doesn't mean that life is over.
Right.
It's not over. It's really just beginning, and you still have so much more that you can do to make it in this world. And although it's scary, and although, like I said, for me, shame and embarrassment was probably my biggest thing. Like, can you imagine walking around senior year, everybody's going to prom, and you're like stuck out here with like, it was just, sometimes I think back to that time and I was like, I guess I was depressed during that time. I didn't know what it was back then, but now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I guess that's what I was, just carrying around that heavy load. It was like just weighing you down. So, but yeah, for any young person now going through it, use the people who are in your corner, that's shouting you out, that's supporting you, that's giving you encouragement. And also look within yourself, because I'm sure you have a talent that you've been gifted with, something that you have been given that you can expand on, because life is definitely not over.
Right. Yeah. I think that's such an encouraging word. Life is not over.
It's not.
Yeah. Nope. And I think for young people, even these days, I think they, whether they find themselves, experimenting with drugs and alcohol, and maybe they get down a bad path, or they fail out of school.
Right.
Or, if they find themselves pregnant, or whatever the thing is, the circumstance that looks different than maybe what they anticipated.
Right.
A lot of young people do see it as like a dead end road. Like, oh, it's all over. Throw in the towel.
Yep.
And
it's really not.
It's really not.
It's not. There's some hard days.
Yeah.
But some of us adults who have jobs and, are living okay, still have hard days. So it's just really finding that, whatever that is, to kind of keep you moving forward.
Yeah.
And also being okay with some of those days not being the greatest, but knowing that there's still the next day that you can change that and do something different or make it better for yourself.
Yeah. That you can turn your life around.
That's right. Turn your life around. Keep going. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
That's so true.
Wow. What a great chat.
Yes.
Thanks
Thank you for
popping
having
over.
me. It was
Anything
so
else
nice.
you want to share with the audience? I know you're a wealth of wisdom.
No, that's it. I enjoy speaking my truth now, because like I said, there's the shame that I carried for such a long time, but I'm okay with people understanding where I started and where I am now, not because, I'm trying to teach anyone a lesson per se, but it's just like, I didn't think I would be here. I didn't think I would have an opportunity to be in a position to help other people. And I promise you, it's not because I make bukus of money, or it's not even about the money, but to be in a situation where, or in a position, or to be given this gift to do this work is just sometimes surreal, humbling, and all of that. So I thank God for the path that I went on to get here, because it also allows me to see people, not their circumstances, just see who they are,
Right.
and really help them to draw out many things that they've experienced in life and use that to their advantage.
Yeah, that's so good. It builds compassion and empathy.
It
I
does.
think. That's
It
awesome.
does.
Well, thanks for being so compassionate and such a great therapist, a
Thank
great business owner, a
you.
great resource in the Raleigh area. Hey, you want to plug your websites in case
Oh,
any of the listeners
sure.
are seeking?
Yes, and you get to hang out and listen to me and Sarah. We talk. Listen, I drained her dry, all her good knowledge, so don't let her fool you. But my website for my counseling is a new you, and that's AENW, the letter U, CS.com. And the coaching and consulting is a new coco.com. Isn't that cute?
I think it's adorable.
It's so cute. But I'm Renee Best again. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor and a qualified supervisor.
And business extraordinaire.
Sometimes.
Hey, thanks so much for listening in today. And, if you're looking for quality therapy in the Raleigh area, feel free to reach out to a new you. Also, 180 Counseling, also in the Raleigh area. We've got great therapists in the Triangle.
We do.
No one should be walking around wanting a therapist and going without, because there are a lot of great therapists in the Raleigh area.
Agreed.
But thanks a lot for listening. And, if you like what you're listening today, or you found us on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, give us a 5-star review, give us a like, follow, subscribe, all those things.
Say all of that.
All of those things. Thanks for listening.